Okay, at this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our last speaker, but one of our most important speakers for today is going to be our top general, our top military man in the state of Delaware. Delaware has had a run. We are the New England Patriots of adjutant generals. We started with Frank Vavilah, and for 16 or I don't know how many years it was, it just seemed like it was a lot. General Vavilah did a great job with our National Guard. Then he turned it over to the wonderful, and tragically we've lost her, the wonderful Carol Timmons, who took that and carried right on with it. Just a wonderful National Guard. And now, after those two acts, we thought we could never follow it up, but guess what? We followed it up with General Mike Berry. And General Berry, would you please come forward to the remarks?
Sir. Well, good morning, everyone. First, I would like to begin by thanking retired U.S. Navy Command Master Chief Chuck Baldwin and all of the members of the Delaware Commission of Veterans Affairs for hosting the event today, as well as the event yesterday down at our Veterans Memorial Cemetery. Let's please give them all another round of applause. And it is great to see such a turnout this morning, and it's an honor for me to be representing your Delaware National Guard and all branches of our military during our Memorial Day ceremony. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to address the presence of both my commanders-in-chief, President Biden and Governor Carney. As many of you are aware, my role as the Adjutant General of the Delaware National Guard allows me the opportunity to serve the governor in a state capacity as a member of the cabinet, manning, equipping, and training our soldiers and airmen for any domestic missions. And of course, my federal role allows me to serve the president in preparing our servicemen and women for fighting our nation's wars. And after many years of observing both of these longtime public servants, I'm comfortable in saying that for all three of us, how fortunate we are to have the opportunity to ultimately serve the American people on a daily basis. For that is who we all truly work for and represent. Gentlemen, it's an honor to be with you both here today. I'd like to begin my remarks, as I always do, by asking for a show of hands from all of our veterans. Please just raise your hands up high. Let's give them a round of applause. And now, how about a show of hands for the family members of our veterans? Raise your hands up high. To the families, thank you for supporting our veterans. Now today, we have the opportunity to honor the over 1 million Americans who've given their lives while in service to our country. And we are continuing a proud tradition held each year in May, which began as early as 1865. And annual ceremonies held throughout our country have solidified the understanding that all American citizens have an obligation to always remember those who have given the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good. In recognition of this sacrifice, an unknown speaker is quoted. Our flag does not fly because the wind moves it. It flies with the last breath of each soldier who died protecting it. This morning, we are participating in a ceremony that is so much larger than the recognition of our fallen heroes. This ceremony is about creating a link between all members of our society and those that have answered the call to serve. All of us are saying thank you for your commitment and dedication, and should the tragedy of losing a warrior occur, we the American people are here to fulfill our end of an unwritten contract. We, the citizens of the United States, are honoring a contract that we make every day as our young men and women raise their right hands and make an oath to serve and protect our citizens at home and abroad. This contract requires all of us to appreciate the risks inherent in the profession of arms and to never forget the sacrifice when one of our warriors lose his or her life performing his or her duties. Currently, less than 0.5% of our population serve in the armed forces, and every day that percentage drops. As the numbers of veterans in our population decrease, so does that connection between the citizens and the soldiers, and that connection must remain strong. For this connection, it has a direct impact on our nation's tendencies towards conflict. As long as our population stays true, it will fully understand that contract and realize that our most precious national resource, our service men and women, should only be put in harm's way when absolutely necessary. As military and civilian leaders debate the use of our military forces, this bond will be front and center. The population will be joined hand in hand with the servicemen and women and ensure their services are used with caution. Personal biases or views will not detract from their support of our servicemen and women who are following their orders and fulfilling their mission requirements. It's important to recognize that all wars have common themes. They cause death and sorrow, families' lives are disrupted, significant events are missed, but they also create those bonds between those who serve and the citizens they serve. These bonds are what encourage our religious, our business, our social, and our veterans organizations to provide the financial, emotional, and physical support programs available to our veterans, all of which reduce the risk involved in military service. As we grow up in our society, we have an obligation to recognize just how fortunate we are to be citizens of the United States. Each of us benefits from all of the freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution, as well as the political, social, and financial advantages that we enjoy every day. I can spend hours talking about civic responsibilities. However, what is important today is to recognize that none of these freedoms would exist without the sacrifice of our veterans of our armed forces and their willingness to lay down their lives in support of America's freedoms. I base this statement on the fact that with the stability provided by our armed forces in a world full of constant strife and turmoil, our country is secure in its existence. Throughout the history of our nation, our armed forces have answered the call and defended our nation and our way of life. Without a doubt, we are the greatest military, political, and financial force in the world, and we depend on the 0.5% who volunteer to be the backbone of our nation and protect our political and military power throughout the world. We recognize there are threats out there, as we've seen since the founding of our great nation, and continue to see on a daily basis. But our security all comes down to the professionalism of our armed forces and the willingness to answer the call when needed. For all of you, I offer a sincere thank you for supporting our troops and attending events such as this. I am a military member, a military spouse, and a military father, and I am proud to witness so many of our citizens who have taken time out of their lives this weekend to pay tribute to our nation's fallen. Events such as these put my mind at ease, knowing the military heroes are not going it alone and have the support and backing of our nation. 34 years after my military career began, it is heartwarming to witness the honoring of the unwritten contract. And I am certain, despite the loss of a family member or a friend in military service, our Gold Star families in attendance will feel the love and the compassion in our midst and understand their loss is not in vain, and recognize that continuing generations of Americans are willing to carry on the fulfillment of the unwritten contract. Thank you, Chuck.